Right. It's a new day, a new beginning. It's time for the T20I series between India and South Africa to kick off. We are half an hour or so away from the first ball being bowled. Let's kind of start enjoying the cup of ice cream. That is the first T20I on our show, the Outside You Live, powered by Vespa and Aprilia. Before we dive right into it, the tradition has to continue, and we'll continue looking at that wonderful model, the SXR 160.
You're late.
Don't just live life, maxify it.
Right. Well, welcome back to the Outside You Live, part by Vespa and Aprilia. I have with me Claire Cowan, Yash Lahoti. Claire, I talked about this being the ice cream that we are going to enjoy for a long time because the 50 over contests were the main course, which has our tummies full. And it also has to do something with the heat around here. It's quite hot in India. What's it like in South Africa, and how excited are you to looking ahead to this new beginning?
Sorry, sitting in Cape Town, the weather's but otherwise it's really stunning. Really looking forward to this T20. I find T20 a fascinating format because you can't quite predict. And we chatted so much in the ODI series about India's shortfall was one player every single game shone through and really did well. The difference in T20, if one player shines through and does really well, it actually can win you the match. But unfortunately, in 50 over cricket, because there's so much more time, another team can there's that momentum swift. There are these ebbs and flows the whole time in ODI cricket. Sometimes in T20, once a momentum shift happens, it's really difficult to pull it back because there's such a short period of time. So often, one player can shine through and can actually win it for you, or maybe two players if the opponents can't sort of overcome that shift in momentum. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really exciting series. And India did really well in March when they lost themselves. They need to look forward to that and sort of see, well, okay, ODI series, it's gone, it's finished. We can't do anything about it. We've learned our lessons, and we need to now focus on the next format. And they take a lot of confidence out of what they did in March. So they should have their tails up, and I think they've backed themselves in this series going forward.
Yeah, yes, fascinating and exciting were a couple of words that Claire used. How would you kind of look forward to this series after, especially remember the 4-1 loss at home for India?
I think so. They have to more be fearless than anything else. And I think so that particular factor will be added by Shefali Verma at the top. There is not a lot in the middle order to ponder about, and especially with no Harmanpreet Kaur, at least for the starting game, it's going to be very difficult for India. So they need to be fearless more than anything else. And this particular format demands that. So the more you are fearless, the more you succeed. You need to take those risks. And I think so. That's the only way you win in this format. There's no other way or other way around. Otherwise, it's all going to be luck for you.
Yeah, fearless and fascinating could be the next Fast and Furious for all you know. But let's look at the head-to-head record between these two sides. Not much to choose because India are clearly supreme, 7 wins as opposed to South Africa's 2. But yes, this isn't an Indian side that you used to see, isn't it?
Right. So no Harmanpreet Kaur. That's the reason you don't have a good solid middle order. So except Smriti Mandan and Shefali Verma at the top, you do not have a very solid middle order. Jemima Rodrigues is not in form. Harmanpreet Kaur is not playing the first game at least, and it's going to be very difficult for her to even make for the second game with less than 24 hours. So that's going to be a cause of concern for India. Deepti Sharma is not your best T20 batter for that if you consider that way. You do not have your first choice wicket keeper, either of Nusrat Parveen or Sushma Verma is going to play. Richa Ghosh adds that a bit of that youngster factor. She has that ability to clear the ropes. So that's an exciting addition. And I think so. Ayushi Soni could be another one. If she makes her debut, she could be another one to look out for. Except the top, it's going to be very difficult for a fragile middle order that India is playing. Although India were the runners-up at the last year's World Cup, same time, different Indian side. No Shikha Pandey for that matter.
Yeah, while Yash was speaking about it, let's take a look once again at that India's T20I squad. Remember, it has Harmanpreet Kaur in this. The squad does have Harmanpreet Kaur, which is ruled out at least from the first T20I. I don't know what will happen because the second T20 is very, very close. That's tomorrow. But we'll talk about the first game. No Harmanpreet Kaur. Smriti Mandhana leading the side. Claire, your thoughts on this very young, very different Indian unit? Because we saw the 50-over squad. Many relatable names, many names who were experienced names, so to say. But here's a very young, very different, almost bordering on inexperienced unit that's going to play South Africa. Your thoughts on this Indian squad?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It really is tricky. So I totally agree with Yash. I think the batting for me is going to be really tricky to see how they can kind of balance it out. You know, we would be so used to Harmanpreet coming in at 4, giving that some stability. Look, the openers, I think, are decided. That's easy. And don't get us wrong, if those two openers, I'm so excited to see Shafali. I think that if you have to ask me what the highlight is, I've taken the question away from you. I'm already saying it up front. I just want to have a look at Shafali Verma back. So for me, that's what I'm really looking forward to. In the first T20 and see how she comes off. But if the two Indian openers get away to a flyer, they could win it for India up front. Really, they could. But the problem is then if they lose 1 or 2 quick wickets, I'm just not sure how they're going to handle that. I've really liked Jemima. She looks really good up front, but she just hasn't produced the results in the ODIs. And then we saw her get dropped. However, if you pulling her down the order, that might give her a little bit more confidence. She doesn't sort of feel so overwhelmed opening the batting, and it might give her a little bit more opportunity to sort of embrace the game and get herself into it. Although you don't have that many balls to get yourself into it when you play T20 cricket. So I think from a batting perspective, they are going to be probably a little bit short. We've spoken that there is no Bhatia in it, and the wicket. I would almost say she's normally the first choice keeper. You've got Sushma Verma here. Batting wise, they can't quite compete. We know Sushma is not quite as good of a batsman as Bhatia brings to the party. So again, another little sort of drop in terms of what can happen from an Indian perspective. Bowling is going to be interesting because I was having a look at, if I had to pick an 11, and the biggest thing that stands out for me is that who are you going to pick as a fast bowler that can kind of really sort of give the South Africans a little bit of a hard time here. And obviously the standout is we know that Julian's not in the squad for the T20s. And you don't have Pandey, and we've spoken not having Sika Pandey, the pressure puts on Julian in the ODI series, but now you don't even have her in the T20 squad. So I'm not quite sure. I think the Indian selectors are going to have a hard time trying to put together like a really strong team. But don't get us wrong, they still have both Poonam and Radha who have been successful and have got wickets. So from a bowling strength, and I don't think it's dismal, that would definitely, I would almost say that could be their strength that they could rely on. Two names. And so we need to consider that. We need India to play as a team together to be able to produce the result today.
Yeah, true that. And we welcome Boria on this show right now on the Outside View Live, powered by Vespa and Aprilia. Boria, we were talking about how unsettled that Indian unit is. It's almost a case of playing a set of musical chairs beforehand to see who makes that middle order and lower middle order for India. It's a very, very tough choices to make. You think what's your pick for that 4, 5, 6 with no Harmanpreet Kaur now for the first T20I.
Rima was telling me Simran is somebody who should replace Harman. I was having a long conversation with Jhulan this morning, and based on my op-ed, which you have read, and also chatting with a number of players. I mean, I spoke to a number of players this morning. It is very important that India does well. I can't tell you how crucial it is. If you speak to them, you will know that the morale is down. They think it's an opportunity lost. They think they've got to come back. Correctives need to be put in place. So this selection, South Africa opting to bowl. So again, question is how much dew? Will the dew impact? Because this opting to bowl is a norm for both men and women. England has opted to bowl. South Africa has opted to bowl. But like the men did the other night, tosses do not win cricket matches. Ability does. For some reason, India's luck with the toss has been horrific. Whether it is Mithali Raj, whether it is Smriti Mandhana. So that is fine. But you would want the batters to set a platform, because as Claire was saying, Radha and Poonam in this format are different bowlers. You will see a different Radha Yadav, 49 and wickets and, games and whatever, and Poonam getting to close to 100. They are more comfortable in this format now. So I would be banking on that. But to be able to do that, you need a good score on the board. And again, it is quite sad, Sudarshan, that both the games are on the same day. Very sad. You have actually divided viewership. There will be some fools like me who will have Hotstar open and television open and follow both. But you know that viewership will be less. When you want to promote a particular game, you need to be conscious that every viewer is important. And I think we could have done better.
Yeah. Fair point. That for South Africa have, remember, won the toss and have opted to chase. They continue the trend. It's something that it seems to be a formula that's worked well for them, Claire, and they're kind of sticking to it. But let's look at that 11. Let's talk about that 11 with Lee and Anneke Bosch is slated to open from what we'll see right now in that order. Your thoughts on that? Because we've seen Anneke Bosch being very good in India on turning conditions in South Africa back against Pakistan. So good signs there.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very happy that Anneke Bosch has got a chance to open. We've almost seen her develop in confidence and sort of grow as a character within the squad over the ODI series. And I think she absolutely deserves a chance to open. She can be very devastating when she gets going. So I think that's really exciting. I'd love to see Wolfhard tested a little bit, opening the batting. I know personally how hard she's worked over the last sort of 2-3 years to make sure she can increase her strike rate. So if you take Laura Wolfhard back about 4 or 5 years, we all knew what kind of cricketer she would be and that she had this immense talent. Probably the biggest question mark over her was always her strike rate and whether she would be able to sort of be able to find that accelerator and really kick off when she needed to. And she's shown that now lately. She's really worked hard on upping her scoring rate, getting the confidence even to play up and over the top of that inner ring and be able to increase the amount of scoring shots she has. So I think it's really exciting. Seeing her come in at 4 might also just give her a little bit of calmness within her innings and sort of slightly less pressure up front, although she's very adapted to handling the pressure. If there's a nice little cushion and she comes in and, we maybe only sort of 70 for 2 or something like that, it could be exciting to see what Laura Wolfhard could do. I'm very happy. I'm glad that Love is coming in and she's getting a look in. So I would think that she's probably going to open the bowling with Ismail. We've seen that there's been a lot of success for South Africa when she did it in the last World Cup. She was sort of thrown into the deep end and she did really, really well. So I think it's good that South Africa are, changing things up. There's no cup, which is an obvious question mark, but I don't think it is a question mark. We saw what South Africa did against Pakistan, changing the team up, changing the starting 11 up, and they did really well. And that's, again, I've repeated myself many times, how you give players opportunity, how you give them experience, and how you grow them. And I think that's the really important thing, is growing that depth of the squad, putting people in opportunities where they can shine and really come through. So I'm pretty much happy with that. I think it's really good to see Kaka back in, and her bowling. A little bit of pressure on Nadine de Klerk, because she's going to have to get through a good couple of overs and make sure that she keeps it tidy and that economy rate down, which she can be slightly inconsistent. So if you have a look at Nadine de Klerk's economy, and she's one of those who either bowls really well and she gets lots of wickets and she's very economical, or she can go for sort of big runs. So the Indian batsman might sort of see her as a little bit of a target, and try and dip into her when she comes into bowl. So I think it'll be a little bit of a test for her. But so far she's shone through and she's doing really well. But overall, I'm very happy with the 11 that South Africa has put together.
Yeah, happy indeed. And given that South Africa are on a winning run, you can't be unhappy at anything that any players that South Africa put out. But yes, coming to you, no Marizan Cup as far as India is concerned. Those openers might be just kind of ticking their clocks, waiting on when they can actually go out and have a crack at the South African bowlers. But here's another point that you would like to kind of talk more about, is that South Africa have just 5 options apart from Sunelise, which means she will have to roll her arm over.
Yes, it is very good as far as India are concerned. I think so. Laba, Kaka, Ismail, de Klerk, Lees and Bosch. So that's how I think so the 6 bowlers would look like. But yes, I'm very sure that it's good that that's done so that Sunelise bowls her 4 overs, because otherwise she wouldn't have. So this is kind of forcing her that you have to bowl your 4 overs, otherwise you're not playing. So because the other players do not bowl, and even if one of them gets hit for runs, which is quite possibly in this kind of a case, and when Shefali Verma bats at the top of the order, it is more or less likely to happen. So if that happens, yes, Sunelise will bowl her 4 overs, which is a very good sign. I'm not surprised not to see Marizan Cup. She's played all 5 games. It's a good rotation policy which they have taken up. It's also a good chance to test your other players, and none of the players are bad. So Ismail, Kaka, who do you drop? De Klerk, it's not a team that, oh, okay, this person is droppable. No, that's not the case. So Marizan Cup sitting out does not make that particular side weak. It just shows that how much strength they have and what kind of investments they have already made. So I think so. Overall, looks a very good side. Yes, of course, and India will be happy that there is no Marizan Cup, particularly in this format. She's very economical.
Yeah, true that. Cricket's a game of partnerships, isn't it, Boria? That's why we've kind of stressed enough about India's batting opening combination during the ODIs. Here are South Africa without their prime opening bowlers in Ismail and Cup, because there's no Cup. And that probably explains why the men and the women are playing at the same time. It's all about partnerships, isn't it?
I would much rather not have this partnership. This is like the last day Yash briefly came on our show with his new hairstyle, which is very avoidable. So this is that kind of partnership. You don't want this. You absolutely don't want this. You want a Claire us kind of partnership where we will enjoy our game. Claire can have her wine while we have our chocolate. That's okay. But coming back to the point, you want one person when you do not have winning momentum, when you do not have Harmanpreet Kaur, when you have less sort of confidence, you want one person to put your hand up and say, I will make it count. It's always the case. Always the case. So whether it is a Smriti Mandhana, whether it is a Poonam Yadav, someone who has been there, done that for the team, or your X factor in, anybody, just step up and say, enough, I will make it count. And you can do that. There is a lot of talent in that side. Can India do that? Will perhaps decide the game for me. I think India has now been pushed into that dark corner in every sense. You don't have your best player. You don't have your captain. You have lost 1-4. You have lost the toss. So you have nothing to lose. Go out there, express, clear the balls. You started the World Cup batting first. Go there, score 170, put pressure, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, we are just getting the teams as well. Simran Dil Bahadur, as you mentioned, Boria has been handed her T20I cap. She's making her debut. There's a very longish tail, we can say, because there's Arundhati Reddy, who's in the side. Just two people in Poonam Yadav and Rajeshwari Gaikwad, who perhaps can be counted to be one of the lesser able people with the bat. But Boria, we'll stick to you. Shafali Verma, we can kind of talk on and on about her, and she's just a teenager, and the fact that we are counting on her, most of India is counting on her to make that end their streak of losses, talks a lot about her ability, and she showed it at the T20 World Cup last year, isn't it, Boria? So do you think that it's going to be a pressure on that youngster today, because it's all the talks leading to the T20I series are being Shafali Verma?
If I was Shafali Verma, I would think I have not played international cricket for whatever number of months. For God's sake, I just want to spend time there. I will sleep there. I will live there. So she should embrace this opportunity. In fact, this batting first is good for Shafali. I was talking to Mr. Gavaskar today, and this is what we were discussing, that what must be going through the minds of some of these girls. And it was his point. Shafali Verma should embrace this opportunity. So what if she gets out, people first game, coming back of 6 or 1? Imagine what that will do to the confidence of the team. So embrace the challenge. You can hit the ball. Selective. I must tell you this. And asked him, what should be my way or what should be my strategy? And this is the same is applicable for Shafali Verma. Sachin said to Prithvi that you have every shot in the book. All you need to learn is which ball to play to which shot. That's it. And which ball to leave. Forget everything else. Forget grip. He had the most unorthodox grip and ended up with 35,000 runs. So all Shafali Verma needs to do is identify which ball to hit and what shot to play. The moment she learns that and masters that, she is an absolute terror at the top for India. That is what I want to see.
Yeah, fair point. That forget the pressure, just go out and enjoy your game. That's what everybody tells the players. But yes, coming to you, did you kind of figure out that you on Twitter were talking about Ayushi Soni likely to make her debut? She doesn't today. So your thoughts on that Indian middle order?
So they have made sure that it's a longish tail, but none of them are proven. So as Boria says, it's more that you just go and try and hit, and whatever you can do your best. So that's what the mantra should be. So good to see that there is Richa Ghosh, there is Nusrat Parveen. So Nusrat Parveen offers you better while keeping. So when you have a Poonam Yadav, when you have a Rajeshwari Gaikwad, when you have that Radha Yadav in the side, it is good that there is a better wicket keeper behind the stumps.
Is Radha playing? Yash, is Radha playing? I'm told she's not.
Okay.
Just check once.
The Poonam and Rajeshwari is what we are seeing at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I've also just been I was reading the BCCI handle.
Okay. So, if that is the case, but end of the day, that is what you want. That is what you want, a better wicket keeper. You want someone who can basically save you those runs, which Sushma Verma was not in those ODIs. And when it comes to T20Is, you need a better wicket keeper basically to do that. I'm happy to Parveen. Bit shocked not to see Radha Yadav. She has that. I don't remember. I think so. 23, 24, 25
24,
games.
yeah.
24 games consecutive taking wickets. I am very shocked that she is not playing it. Simran Dil Bahadur, as Boria mentioned, makes her debut, which is very good to see. If she offers something what Harman is able to, that's a good thing. And then I would potentially put her a bit up the order. She's mentioned at say number 8 in the team sheet, but I'll potentially then have her at 4 or 5 to play, so that there are not a lot of Otherwise, the middle order looks very similar. Like there are more those players which play with a strike rate of 80, 90. You need more players playing with a higher strike rate, with a strike rate of over 100. So yeah.
Yeah, Claire, let's get your thoughts on the youngster Shafali as well as that new look Indian batting order. Because remember, Richa Ghosh can also strike him big. Last year, she showed it in the T20 Challenger Trophy before making her debut in the Tri Series ahead of the World Cup as well. Shafali Verma, I think South Africa have seen a lot of her last year in 2019 when they'd come here, and unfortunately they couldn't see the newer version because that match against they couldn't play it in the World Cup. But your thoughts on Shafali Verma and this Indian batting order and how South Africa would tackle the unknowns in that Indian middle order?
So I just want to touch on a point Boria also made earlier. Is I think the fact that South Africa won the toss and have chosen to bowl because they are perceiving that their chasing ability is their strength. I think India should see that as a strength to themselves, because this gives India the opportunity to bully South Africa a little bit up front. And I think if India sort of sit back and they let South Africa come at them, South Africa got the confidence to sort of meet them there. If India come out of the blocks here batting first and they sort of really South Africa a hard time up front with their secret weapon, well, not really secret, let's call it. She's not a secret weapon, but she is a weapon. Then I think that puts India on the front foot massively in this T20 series. So I would have actually liked South Africa to do something different and probably bat it first, to almost take that opportunity away for India, because you've kind of got India in the corner. Imagine a boxing square, and they've really got nowhere to go. That dark corner that Boria spoke about, and now you can sort of keep them on the ropes and sort of keep swinging hard at them. So if I were India, I would really, and you know what, even if they lose sort of 1 or 2 wickets, but they sort of get themselves to, an easy 50 or 60 in 6 or 7 overs, and they've lost 2 wickets. That's still a really, really good score, and it's a good start, getting themselves off the blocks early on. And South Africa will have a lot to think about, especially considering they don't now have 7 options in their bowling attack. They don't have 8 options. So if someone goes early on, there's not lots of things that they can do around that bowling attack to pin it back. So simply put, I think Shafali Verma should play to her strengths. Don't let all this external stuff get to her. Forget the ODI. She at least also wasn't involved in the ODI series. So it's also important that as a squad, they keep things positive. And I always have something silly, and I always say, fake it till you make it. So even internally, if you are really hating life and you are really down on yourself, if India walk out there with confidence, their shoulders are up, their chests out, and they're ready for this battle, that will sort of put South Africa going, oh, these ladies look like they're here for a match and they want to fight it out. So if you can have Smriti Mandhana and Shafali Verma come out nice and strong, and even if it's a case that they're not sort of smashing the ball to the boundary, but they at least ticking over at sort of 6, 7 runs and over, and that can be done by picking up 1s and 2s. That already puts South Africa on the back foot, and then Sune's going to have to sort of think about what she can do with a limited resource within her bowling attack. So that's how I would sort of say to the Indian batsmen how they need to take it up front. And we know how devastating Shafali can be, so there's no doubt around her ability. I'm really interested to see how this change in batting position helps Jemima Rodriguez, because I really do like her. I think she does have the talent. It's just about getting her confidence up and sort of spending time at the crease. So having her probably, I would have to guess, coming in at number 3 would be really, really good. So I think that's going to be very, very important. So we'll have to see. Deepti Sharma, I think she's got quite a big role to play in this game. She's going to have to really step up, and especially if India sort of lose 1 or 2 wickets up front, she's going to kind of have to put her hand up and really try and do well. I think probably secretly you would find that the Indian selectors, and I know Mitali Raj doesn't sort of want to play and doesn't get involved in the T20, but my heart kind of has to say, if you had Mitali in the squad, that could be a nice sort of cushion for you, considering you've lost Harmanpreet. Because I just think from an experience, from a calmness perspective, you're a little bit light in that middle order, where Harman would come in and really stabilize things, and then when she needs to, be able to accelerate the scoring rate. So there is going to be a little bit of pressure on India and this batting lineup, but I think it's a huge opportunity, and it's a huge opportunity to sort of take a big sort of starting punch at the South Africans and put them on the back foot.
There's a lot of boxing going around for the last couple of days, because on a review, Boria was talking about Indians taking boxing punches and having scars. But Boria, there's a nice mantra that Claire has given for India to bully South Africa, that is fake it to make it. Will Jemima, you think, be faking it, or what's your mantra for her to kind of get out of that rut that she's currently finds herself in?
See, again, 120 balls. People think 120 balls is nothing. 120 balls is a hell lot of time. Hell lot of time. So it is very, very important that you keep that in mind and just play yourself in. And because anyway you will score fast. So just be sensible. That's all I want. If they're sensible, it's fine.
Right. Let's take final thoughts before we close the show. 5 minutes to go for the first ball of the T20I series between India and South Africa in Lucknow. What are your thoughts first? India batting first. What's the score you predict?
If you have to win, you got to get 145 to 155 at least. And you would expect a Smriti Mandhana or a Shafali Verma to put your hand up. You expect a Deepti Sharma to make it count, and you expect a Poonam Yadav and Rajeshwari Gaikwad to make it count. I think South Africa ahead, but I will put them at 55-45. The winning the toss might just backfire. So obviously, as an Indian supporter, I would want the openers and your experienced people to put your hand up.
Yeah, Claire, your thoughts? We saw that it's almost a flat track. Your thoughts of the score that India might get to batting first?
So I think India are going to come out flying. I think they're going to want to. I think from a coaching perspective or management perspective, they're going to try and encourage their batsmen to be very, very positive up front. I would like to see India. I know with my South African supporters hat on, I'm not saying this, but just from a series perspective and for Indian cricket, I'd like to see India get up to 160 and really put the pressure on South Africa. And I think if India get to 160, South Africa they're going to have their tails up and they'll probably back themselves to chase that. And then I think we'll be in for quite an exciting finish to the game. And I almost want it to happen, like we saw in that third ODI where Duckworth-Lewis rain came into it. I sort of said we were robbed, because I think that same finish could happen here if India sort of gets to that 160 and South Africa decide they're really going to chase it down. So I'd like to see India go out aggressive up front and try and get to at least 160. Yeah.
Tell you what, Claire, don't be very surprised if you start getting a lot of followers on your social media handles or your name is Googled a lot, because you are saying India should score 160 for it to be an exciting contest. And tell you what, there'll be a lot of followers that will gain. Yes, your thoughts? What India's score going to be?
I think so. If the top order performs well, Shefali, Smriti, or either one or both, then only that 160 is possible. Otherwise, 120 will be difficult. If both of them, it's like 10 for 2 and both of them are in the dugout, 120 is going to be very difficult for this Indian side. If they are able to make it, of course, well and good, but otherwise it's going to be very difficult. And if they are able to make 160, it's going to be difficult for the South Africans to chase. It's going to be very difficult for them to chase. So I expect one of Shefali, Smriti or both perform well, India wins. Or else it's going to be very difficult. South Africa will have that upper hand. But considering they are only playing with 5 bowlers plus Sunellis, who generally would not bowl herself. So, it's going to be that Indian start which is going to be important. The first 5 overs will determine. But how difficult is it? It is going to be for a lot of fans. Because one side, it's going to be Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli walking out to the middle. The other side is going to be Shefali Verma and Smriti Mandhana opening the innings. So it's going to be very difficult as far as the viewership is concerned. I'm sure the women's viewership will suffer just because Rohit and Virat are opening on the other side.
The viewership will suffer if you're watching virtually, but there's 10% of the crowds allowed in Lucknow, so those people might be glued to the action in the center. Yash is backing the SS because Smriti, Shafali, and he wants Sune Lees to have a bowl. Claire says 160. Boria said anything about 145. India should be favorites. We'll pick up this conversation on our mid-match show on the Outside View Live, powered by Vespa and Aprilia. Do join us for that.
You're late.
Don't just live life, maxify it.